I think they're going to help each other elevate their games. They not so much to the tier one and barely tier two superstars, and not even so much superstars, but stars in this league. They solid NBA players that make the All Star team, and I think with them two playing together, I think they can elevate themselves a lot better than what they are. And I think they're gonna get more recognition playing off of each other. This can actually be a good thing for the Spurs because the Spurs don't lose too much. In my opinion, they don't lose nothing at all. They lose because Kawhi Leonard wasn't there at all for them like that last year, and they still made the playoffs and won a playoff game this past year. Now you add DeMar DeRozan, who's been playing on a every year he's been adding something to his game and getting better. I think that improves your team a lot better, especially in the Southwest Division, where you got the Houston Rockets, the New Orleans Pelicans, the Dallas Mavericks, and the Memphis Grizzlies, where it's a dogfight in that division for sure. And back on Toronto, it's just a shame that how much talent they has had over the years, and they really reached the ceiling, and they'll never get a world title. Let's think about some of the great teams that, especially over the recent history. Let's think about the Phoenix Suns with Amari Stoudemire, Sean Marion and Steve Nash. Them teams they had, they had some excellent teams, 58, 59 win teams, never won a championship. The old Sacramento Kings with Chris Webber and Peja Stojakovic, Ladia Divac, and Bobby Jackson and all them cats. Great teams, never won a championship. Even the Portland Trailblazers that year, Rasheed, Pippen, all them guys never won a championship. Mullen, Richmond, and all them boys out there in Golden State years in the 90s. Great teams never won championships. It's sad to say there's a lot of great teams that had successful NBA seasons but never won titles. And the sad thing about this is the Toronto Raptors is officially now one of them teams that had ultimate success in the regular season. One of the most talented rosters probably in the league them years, probably for the last 4 or 5 years, and they never won an NBA title. And it's officially starting to get broken up now. I said this a few months ago, and I'm gonna say it again. I agree 110% to blow this thing up because this is the best this team ever going to be. Now it's time to start thinking about rebuilding, retooling, start moving on to the next, getting ready for the future, getting some young prospects in the Toronto organization. Moving on. Brandon Cooks is officially a $80 million man, where the Rams officially has signed Brandon Cooks to a 5-year deal. $80 million. He is the third highest paid receiver in the NFL. So let's talk about who's number one and who's number two. Number one highest paid receiver in the NFL is Mike Evans. Mike Evans, in his total career, has 4,579 receiving yards. He has 32 touchdowns, 1 Pro Bowl appearance, and one second team All Pro is Mike Evans. The number two highest paid receiver in the league is DeAndre Hopkins, 5,865 receiving yards, 36 touchdowns, 2-time Pro Bowler, and 1-time All-Pro selection. Brandon Cooks is the third with 3,943 receiving yards and 27 touchdowns, no All-Pros and no Pro Bowls at all. And to a degree, this is going to open up Pandora's box, like my brother would always say, for guys like Michael Thomas. Julio Jones is trying to get paid. Odell Beckham, he's in that draft class. Everybody else got paid but Odell Beckham. So Odell Beckham probably about to try to break the bank. So many more young, talented receivers in the game. Especially when you think about the credential Brandon Cooks have. Brandon Cooks have no Pro Bowl appearances. He have no All-Pros. He don't have what the rest of these guys are starting to get and start to become in the league. Somebody told me, said Brandon Cooks is probably the third best wide receiver in that 2014 draft class, and I highly disagree. Jarvis Landry, I don't have his numbers in front of me, but I think he have more. I know he had more passing, had more receiving yards. And I think he had less touchdowns. But remember, he's more of a possession type of receiver. He gets your yards. That's the type of guy that he is. And he's a Pro Bowler, a multi-time Pro Bowler as well. Brandon Cooks, I don't think he's worth 80 million yet. I think he can turn into B, and I think like my homeboy was talking to me the other day, and I wish I firmly agreed with him. It was a smart move by the Rams because what if he do have a breakout season this year? He gonna want more money than $80 million, and I definitely agree with him on that one. But at the same time, now he got to go out and show he's worth $80 million because it's kind of when you start thinking about the young man on Twitter told me, said he is the third best receiver, but I said I can't agree because anybody will shine when they play with two quarterbacks that's combined for 6 world titles. Tom got 5, Drew Brees got 1. You know, you can combine for 6 world titles. You know, 2 future Hall of Famers. They competing right now to be the all-time leading passers in NFL history. Now you're gonna play with Jared Goff, who had one good season, who really turned his career around, who trying to break the bank right now for the Los Angeles Rams. So go out and prove to me that you have that potential talent, and show that you're worth $80 million for the next 5 years. You are the third highest paid receiver in the game right now. Third highest paid in the game. You got a lot to prove to me at this moment in time. A lot. Because I don't think, Michael Thomas is my guy. I think Michael Thomas kind of really pushed Brandon Cooks out of New Orleans to a degree. And I think Brandon knew it. And I could be wrong. I could definitely be wrong. But I think Brandon knew he wasn't better than Michael Thomas and what he was going to bring to the Saints table, a big physical receiver who can catch any ball that you throw to him, something that Brandon can't really do for you. Go up, catch the 50-50 balls. That's not Brandon Cooks' game. Get him in space and he's going to take off. That's Brandon Cooks' game. Saints look for more bigger physical receivers at their number one. And he knew he couldn't be that number one receiver for him because he's not as big as Michael Thomas. So we're going to have to wait and see on Brandon Cooks. But I respect him because he was a Saint. I enjoyed watching him when he was with New Orleans because he made a lot of plays. He played in a unique system that made him better. I think to a degree, Brandon Cooks would probably been a Pro Bowler this year with Michael Thomas this past season because they would have played off each other. What if New Orleans would have had him, Kamara, good guy, and Thomas? There's just so much defensively that you can guard, and somebody's gonna get open. Somebody, Jesus Christ. Talk a little bit about, now let's move on. Let's talk about the AFC North. I told you every week we do a division. We officially going to wrap up the AFC this week. And next week we're going to move on to the NFC. I don't know which division I'm going to start with first. But I know what division I'm going to go last. That's be the NFC South. But let's talk about the AFC North. This is the NFC South opponents for sure. Let's talk about Pittsburgh. They got their issues right now. Le'Veon Bell talking about sitting out training camp. Antonio Brown's officially on the cover of Madden. You know, everybody like to talk about the Madden curse. Let's talk about Baltimore. Baltimore, they went out and got signed. I mean, they got better this year going out in the draft, getting Lamar Jackson. They got some tight ends. They're making future moves. I think this is going to help them for the future. Go out and get a little veteran receiver in. And Willie Snead, former Saint. I think that was a good move because I think he's going to help out a lot over there. Cleveland's got better over the offseason for sure, getting Tyrod Taylor and Baker Mayfield and Jarvis Landry and Demarius Randall. They went out and got better this year. They for sure telling their fans we are not going 0-16 this year. And Cincinnati, to me, is kind of in the funk a little bit because Marvin Lewis is there. You lose A.J. McCarron to the Bills because I think, how much longer we going to put up with Andy Dalton. But I really want to see A.J. McCarron shine over there at Buffalo. He was supposed to be the quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, but that didn't go through. It's just like nothing went right for Cleveland. But I will say this. I definitely think Pittsburgh, like I said, I said this a few weeks ago, that Pittsburgh will be the number 2 team in the AFC. So I believe they win 11 to 12 games this season. I think Baltimore going to probably be at the 9-7 mark. I think they're going to improve, but you might have to start thinking about moving on from Harbaugh. We can't keep living on Harbaugh or Flacco. Got to move on from there. I just don't think we keep living on the past. This team ain't what it was a few years ago. Uh, Still a solid team, still a respectable team, but just not what they used to be. Putting fear in people's hearts a few years ago. Uh, I think personally, I think Cleveland can potentially finish better than the Cincinnati Bengals. I gave Cleveland 5, 6, maybe 7 wins at the most. But Cincinnati to me is in a spot where I don't see them improving in a lot of areas, and I feel like the rest of that division has gotten so much better, and time has just passed them by a little bit. And I think if this don't work this year, you have to move on from Marvin Lewis, bring a new culture in Cincinnati because there's a lot of talent on that team to say that they only a mediocre franchise in the NFL. And I don't think that's enough to get over to win games. And I mean, this team haven't won a playoff game in under his tender. Wild carding out. That's not acceptable anymore. I think it's time to move on. I don't know how he still got a job. I like how Steve Harvey said a few weeks ago, he don't know how Hugh Jackson still got a job going 0-16 in the NFL, but it happens. It definitely does happen. So here's my prediction. I got Pittsburgh being number one. Probably about, I say between 11 or 12 game wins this year. I'm going to give Baltimore number 2. I'm gonna go ahead just out of respect. I'm gonna give Cincinnati 3. I'm gonna give Cleveland 4. But that 3 and 4 could really be swapped, and possibility even in that 2 and 3 can be swapped. If Cincinnati overshow expectation and pass Baltimore up, I think Harbaugh or Flacco is gonna be out of here this year. That's gonna be it. I think there's not a reason. There's a reason why Lamar Jackson is there, and I think that's saving Harbaugh's job. So I think if this ain't gonna work right now, strong possibility. I think Flacco's gonna be out, and I think Lamar Jackson gonna be the man in Baltimore the following season because they setting him up for success over there and keep adding and drafting the right pieces. I think Baltimore can be back in the next 3 seasons and one of the more feared teams. But Lamar Jackson got to step up and become the man in in Baltimore. So that will officially wrap up the AFC. Like I said, next week we're going to talk about the NFC. We might go start with the NFC North. I think that's where I'm going to start next week, the NFC North. I got 2 more segments, guys. I told you I did a bigger show than normal. Biggest buses of all time. Biggest buses of all time. It's kind of a topic that I was just thinking about the other day. I had on my Twitter account. And I was like, well, let me see what the Twitter fans say. The biggest bust of all time, according to Twitter, was Jamarcus Russell. Now, Jamarcus Russell had 4,083 passing yards in his career. He had 18 touchdowns, 23 interceptions, and had a completion percentage of 52%. I didn't get his wins, losses as a starter, but to me, always the biggest bust of all time is going to be Ryan Leaf. Ryan Leaf was a 4-17 as a starter. His completion percentage is 48.4%, 3,666 passing yards, 14 TDs, and 36 interceptions in his career. I think, now, I'm from the South. I'm from South Louisiana, so a lot of LSU country do fall through the area that I'm from. So I know a lot more people going to know more about Jamarcus. But another guy I had on that list was Trenton Richardson. Trenton Richardson, remember the big Alabama stud from Alabama. Trenton Richardson had 2,032 yards, 17 TDs. He had that one good year, his rookie year. He never shook back. Never shook back. He never shook back. So who, in your opinion, between them 3 guys, unless I'm missing anybody else? And really, truly, I'm looking more at the quarterback position. Mine's always going to be Ryan Leaf because the sky was the limit, and he never even jumped off the ground. Jamarcus Russell, same thing with him too, but his numbers are a tad bit better than what Ryan Leaf's is. Like I said, them 14 TDs and 36 interceptions, good God, that's a lot. That's a big bust to me, in my personal opinion. We're getting closer and closer to college football, guys, and I'm getting excited, man. I really got to start feeding in and paying more attention to some of the preseason stuff. We're probably going to talk about the week 1 matchups coming up soon and pay attention to what we got coming up week 1. I think we're going to have a good week 1 this year. let's talk about. I got 5 quarterbacks